Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we have digital discussions of the worlds of pop culture, social media, sports, and music. And I am joined by members of the pop punk band Gold Steps. Can I please have you guys introduce yourselves and what you do in the band?
Well, hi, I'm Zach. I play guitar.
Well, hi, I'm Liz, and I sing.
Well, hi, I'm Raz. I play bass.
So Gold Steps, welcome to Popternative.
Hi.
Thank
We're
you. Thank you
excited to
for
be
having
here.
us.
So I'm going to ask probably the most generic question that bands get asked, but we're going to roll with this. How did the band start?
Ooh, great question. You want me to nail this one?
Yeah.
So we were actually a band beforehand. Liz, I, and our previous bassist actually quit a band that we were playing. This wasn't working out, and we were driving. Liz and I were listening to Neck Deep. We actually heard the song Gold Steps from Neck Deep. Life's Not Out to Get You.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked amongst each other, and we're just questioning, like, why can't we be like this? Why can't we play music like this?
Yeah.
So that's actually what inspired Gold Steps to become a band. We found our drummer Roger, which he's not present at the moment, but and then luckily Raz decided to move here from Houston. So
Very cool.
that's basically how Gold Steps started.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. What are kind of some of the we mentioned before we started, there's a lot of comparisons to your band, like bands like Paramore, Paris, the female vocalist, a pop punk band, but you go more the easycore route, so you have the Newfound Glory, the Wonder Years. I want to go in the row, maybe start Raz. And what were some of the influences for you specifically growing up, music-wise?
Well, I'd have to just clear for starters. I'd have to say Blink-182 always. Blink, 4 Years Strong, for sure. And then, as time went on, I really got influenced a lot by like Neck Deep, State Champs, Wonder Years. And then I'm actually really into like Kubla Khan. It's a way heavier genre, but it's I guess it kind of helps with the some of the like heaviness that I like to try to get. So
there's a few songs by that band that I listen to when I go to the gym. It's a good gym band.
they'll get you pumped, man.
It's very heavy. Liz, what about you? What are some of your influences growing up?
Growing up, let's see. I think I would probably have to say the biggest influence on me has been Fall Out Boy, Patrick Stump specifically. I started out getting into pop punk with like Good Charlotte and Simple Plan. That was really mainstream, and I was like 12 at that time. And then I got to high school and started listening to like Motion City Soundtrack, and I found Fall Out Boy and was like, oh my God, this guy can sing. So pretty much my main influences once I started playing music were definitely Fall Out Boy, Newfound Glory. I honestly it's kind of blown me away how much I've like grown with them and like continued to love them as they've grown. But they're like my top favorite of all time. And then of course, like once Hayley Williams and Paramore came into, the scene and being like, holy crap, like a girl can do this too. Like that's really cool. And of course, like they've grown and changed a lot as a band. And I feel like I've kind of tried to keep myself more like true to the music that I really listen to. And that's like not a dig at them at all. It's just that when people compare us to Paramore, I'm kind of surprised because I don't think we sound like them at all. At
And
least
I don't either, and I'm agreeing with you. But I'm just saying, like they paved the way for a lot of that music, so that's very important. But yeah, I don't like that automatically, female fronted pop punk Paramore. You know what I mean? It's not like I think we're growing past that, which I think is important.
I hope so. There's so many talented women in the genre that they get dismissed really quickly because if they don't sound exactly like Hayley, it's like, oh, they're like a second-rate Paramore. And it's like, they're not even trying to be. They're trying to make their own sound. And there are so many talented female like singers out there right now that I can think of, like Carried Away. They're from Canada. They're fantastic. Knavery, I believe, is out of Ohio. They're up and coming. Stand Atlantic, Bonnie sounds nothing like Paramore, and so hopefully
That's
she
great.
never gets that comparison.
Carry Yourself from Toronto.
Yeah.
That's
And
another band.
Yours Truly. And there's just a handful of other female-fronted bands out there that don't sound anything like Paramore, and I feel like they get those comparisons too, and it's like, y'all, there are so many different styles out there and so many different like little differences in our voices. So
Oh no, absolutely. And actually, we'll go with your influences because we didn't get to you yet.
Yeah, I was wondering when I was
Yeah. And then, so go with your influences. Then I have another question that you'll start off, and then we'll go in the order the other way. So yeah, what were some of your influences?
So when I started, I actually started on bass. I actually played the orchestra bass, the double bass, and then I just cello. I moved it over to a electric bass.
Great movie.
School of Rock. Sorry. So my first songs that I started learning were Blink-182, and then Green Day, and from there, my friends that I would always hang out with and we'd play music together, they started getting into harder music, like from first to last. I started learning like a lot of like bass lines, guitar stuff from that. Chiodos was a huge inspiration to me growing up. So from there, it started moving slowly into pop punk again after that.
No, absolutely. It's pretty cool because a couple of weeks ago, because I used to be a concert promoter and I used to play drums as well. I got PD Beats because I used to play drums. That was like my nickname growing up. But I had like Shane Told from Silverstein on the podcast, and that was like one of my Silverstein was like for me like the band that influenced me all the time. So
that's so
Yeah,
cool.
Silverstein is amazing. Got to see them at Warped Tour a couple times. They were great.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like bands like Silverstein and Liz, you mentioned Motion City Soundtrack. Like that's probably one of my favorite bands. Like I love the keyboard in that, and it's unbelievable.
Lyrics are so out of this world. Like they're so unique, and that to me is like that's just like their hallmark is their uniqueness.
Absolutely. So here's the question. We'll start. We'll go from the left, go to the right. So we're seeing that like streaming services like Spotify have been incredible in terms of discovering bands and helping independent and signed bands get their footing and get out there as well. So I wanted to know, it's like a two-part question, but like one, what do you kind of think of the digital age of music and how it's kind of evolved the last couple of years in terms of streaming on Spotify, and how has Spotify impacted Gold Steps? Because we all know that there's been an incredible amount of support for bands like Gold Steps on Spotify with all those amazing playlists out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
That's all right.
Raz, want to get that going?
Oh yeah, I think it's pretty amazing. I think it's pioneered a lot because like it's a lot easier to get like the material and someone's like, man, I love that song. So, they don't have to take their ass down to, Best Buy or something to go get the CD anymore. They're just like, I'll just download it, boom, boom, or Spotify. And I think it makes life a lot easier and it gets your content out a lot faster, a lot simpler. Of course, that's what people want. They want instant gratification as quickly as possible. So I think it's a great, wonderful thing. And I think the strides that they've taken, and I'm a huge fan of Spotify. I love Spotify.
I remember it was I'm from Canada, and Spotify first came out just for the US, and you had to get like a code. Do you remember that? Like bands were giving out codes for Spotify. So I got a code from Dan Claremont from Set It Off from Clearwater, Florida, and I started using it, and like not a lot of people had Spotify. So like I kind of feel like an unofficial ambassador of Spotify from Canada because I was one of the first people kind of use it a lot with my kind of group of friends. But Liz, like we talked about it before. I mean, Firestarter was on a lot of like playlists, and it just seems like bands are getting the support from Spotify, like Pop Punk Is Not Dead playlists and all these amazing skate park summer playlists. It's really cool because we'll talk about the music soon, but like Gold Steps has a little bit of like a summery vibe to it, I find too.
We do. Actually, a lot of people tell us that we remind them of like SoCal, like that kind of like skate punk vibe, which is cool. I think we've like really enjoyed hearing that from people because that's like the music we listen to. Zach rides BMX. I grew up hanging around the skate park. A lot of my friends skated, and that was summertime is like the best time of year. So why wouldn't you want to have that kind of bouncy, jumpy,
I'm out
energetic?
of school and
Yeah.
time to have
Life
fun,
is
like
life
summer.
is hard
Yep.
enough. So if you've got good, bouncy, fun music to listen to. Now our lyrics are a little bit more sad and depressing at times, but I feel like the juxtaposition of like that sound, that's like what my ears crave, is that kind of fun, summery, original SoCal pop punk vibe.
No,
So
absolutely, and Zach, like it's just so interesting though. Like your band has like a lot of other bands. I just see, like, for example, like We Were Sharks are from Ottawa. They kind of like I grew up like booking those guys and everything, and some of their songs hit like 1 million plays on Spotify. And there's like small upcoming band, and there are people from all over the place. And I'm sure Gold Steps is kind of making their rounds as well. Like a lot of people are listening to Firestarter. You put out a new music video for Sucker Punch. That's a fantastic track. I mean, it's just so cool to see that. I thought there was a little bit of like a, not decline, but I remember like you guys mentioned bands like 4 Years Strong. I was all into that, right? And then like I don't know, like I just stopped listening to bands a lot, like as much as I used to. But now I'm back. Like it's there's so much more music. I think Spotify is the reason of that, Zach. So if you talk, Zach, a little bit about the promotion of like how you've been using Spotify as Gold Steps.
Yeah, so it's great because on Facebook you can actually share. It shows a little album. It'll give you a preview through Spotify. It'll start playing the track. And then if you actually want to hear the whole song, you can double click on it and it'll take you over to Spotify, open that up. That's a huge plus for us. And then, with our upcoming album, you can actually go, well, we have like a feature as artists where we can go and set up the song to premiere the same day as we want it to premiere. Let's say like with Sucker Punch. It actually came out on Thursday last week. The 16th, was it? The 10th, I'm sorry. So we set it up to actually come out on the 10th, and everything came out. It dropped on midnight, and it dropped on other sites like I want to say there's like Deezer now.
Mm-hmm.
There's Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon. So we can set it up that way, and our actual fans can actually follow whichever, I guess, streaming service they use. But Spotify in general, it's been like way easier for us. Like it's almost like MySpace days where you could like,
yeah, I agree with that comparison.
Like that was awesome. Like the fact that got taken away from us, because I was in a band back in the MySpace days, and that was huge for us. We had almost 100,000 plays just on that little MySpace player.
Which band?
It was a like an emo screamo band from El Paso, Texas.
What was it called?
It was called Tonight Is Glory, and we were like heavy.
I've heard of that because I used to be in that into all that stuff, man. I had a really I had an emo screamo phase, man. Like Hawthorne Heights, that was like my life.
So like one of my biggest like things got to come out of that band, and I actually went on tour in Mexico with From First to Last. We played like 5 dates as Tonight Is Glory with From First to Last, and that was huge.
I did a show. So like I was booking shows in Montreal, and I was pretty close with one of the bigger like pop punk and hardcore metalcore promoters. So our band, we weren't that, like, we didn't tour at all. We were just playing local shows, but we got on a show with Askin Alexandria, From First to Last, We Came as Romans, and Our Last Night. That was the package.
That is awesome.
And I played in front of 30,000 kids.
Yeah.
And we were awful, but it was just a cool experience. We were bad, no doubt about that. But it's really cool. Music is medicine. I've said it many ways. People, and it's true. You see it, and I'm sure it's gonna happen, and I'm sure it has happened. I really believe, like, I've had some tough times growing up, and I just put like a Green Day record on, and all my problems are gone for the day, at least. You know what I mean? How important is it for you to kind of create music and get it out there in a way, Liz, you could start this, so that those kind of messages, 'cause I feel like everyone who makes music have those, they want to make it for that's one of the reasons why they make it. They're making it also because they love doing it, but they want to spread that message and help people out through tough times. Because it's not like someone mentioned. I think Liz, you mentioned it. Like it's tough times right now, and music can help heal that in some respect.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up when I listened to music, I listened to it for a reason. I remember making myself mixes of like different like moods and things like that. So I would have like my red CD was like my energetic, like punch in the face kind of music. I had like a little green CD, like that's what I named it when I like burned it and whatever. And that was like all my emo songs where it was like, holy crap, I just need something really cathartic and like releasing right now. So I write music to get a lot of my anxious thoughts off my head. We've been pretty open about our work with mental health and our song topics regarding my experiences with mental health issues, mostly anxiety and depression and panic disorder. So I write about that as a release for myself, but also in hopes that somebody else out there will identify with it and it will provide some level of comfort and healing to them, because that's when I listen to a song and I identify with what's going on in it. Like when I had my moments where I didn't know if I wanted to wake up the next day, a song like Adam's Song was really meaningful to somebody like me who didn't quite know what my next steps was or if I was going to ever see my way out of the darkness. I think it's important to write songs like that so people can relate to it and know that they're not alone in that feeling. And that's really what we're trying to do right now.
No, for sure. And thank you for sharing that. Really, that is something really important. And I definitely agree that, we had like Shane Told on the show. He even says it. Like people have come up to him at shows and say like, I was in a really dark place. Smile in Your Sleep really helped me. Thank you. And he's like, you can't put a dollar price on that. You can't put any like that. That is like I feel like that's one of the reasons. Yes, people are doing this to make a living, or trying to at least, and they want to do this as a full-time job, but it's tough, you know what I mean? Even like in the media industry, like people want to do podcasts for a living, but it's hard, you know what I mean? But it's like that bonus, like the gravy on the mashed potatoes, to be able to kind of provide people with kind of like a support system.
Yeah. I mean, we all know what it's like to feel alone, and if you've ever been to a live show and you've seen that, the experiences, if you ever stop and just look at the people around you and the catharsis they're going through, that's what I live for. That's why I go to shows. That's why I play shows. That feeling of like everybody in that room experiencing that emotion, and for a second you're in a community where everybody understands and you're all having that same experience, and it's a bonding that you can't take away from people.
No, for sure. I have one more question that we're gonna go around the band, and I want your answers, and then I want to talk a little bit about the music, and then we'll wrap up. But we'll start with Raz. I want to know, what was the best show you've ever attended, and what is the best show you've ever played?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Wow, that's a really tough one.
Does it have to be in Gold Steps?
No. Because I know, well, I feel like I know your answer now, for first to last, for tonight's glory.
No, it wasn't, but I'll let him go.
Yeah.
Do y'all have an answer yet? Because I really got to think about this one. I'm not gonna lie. This is a tough question, but a good question. Damn good question.
Best show you ever.
Y'all have any ideas yet?
So for me, I think it had
you knew it right away. As soon as I mentioned that, you knew exactly what you were gonna say, Zach.
I did. So I want to say it had to have been when I was like maybe 18, maybe closer to 20. I went to Albuquerque, New Mexico with a bunch of friends of mine. And there was a tour package with Fireworks, 4 Years Strong, Polar Bear Club, and Set Your Goals. And it
was Gravemaker were on those, or maybe just the Canadian dates. Because I went to that tour.
No, it was a great tour package. I don't think they were on it for the US, maybe.
Must have been just Canada, because I was at that. I went to, and Swellers were on that too.
Ooh, I don't recall that for that US date.
Oh, maybe Swellers and Polar Bear Club swapped. That's probably what it was.
That's very highly possible.
Sorry, continue.
And so no, it's fine. So at this show, there was maybe 50 or 60 kids in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it was It was awesome because I got to stand front row, with just my friends, and we were all like singing along. Dan and Alan of 4 Years Strong, huge inspirations to me. So, like, to be able to see them with nobody pushing me or like freaking out next to me, that to me is like what makes a good show. It's just being able to connect with these artists one on one almost, and I guess that to me meant a lot. So it made that one of my best shows I've ever attended. Now, as far as the best show I've ever played, oof, I might have to wait on that one and think about it.
I can give you time. Okay, so I think my favorite performance, it's definitely a tie between two bands. Long time ago, and one of them was actually Fall Out Boy was one of them, and it was whenever it was crazy because at this time it was before they ever did From Under the Cork Tree. This is when Take This to Your Grave was their big one.
Wow.
And I never seen them. I only knew that one song, Grand Theft Autumn, and I didn't even know they were playing, to be honest. It was a Taking Back Sunday show.
So did they play most of the record though, like the new record? So did they play like Grenade Jumper, like that type of stuff?
They opened up with Tell That He Just Made My List.
Oh, because they stopped playing a lot of those songs after From Under the Cork Tree.
Dude, it was so crazy. I was blown away. Like their show was insane. It's like one of the literally pre Fall Out Boy. Of course, their styles changed, but I would say arguably they're one of the best live performances I'd ever seen back in those days. When they're a lot younger, they wanted to get out there. And they're tied for, actually, as crazy as this sounds, it was at Warped Tour once upon a time. And I don't know if you remember that band Aiden.
Oh my God.
Yeah, of course, dude, Die Romantic is probably one of the best underrated songs ever. Okay, that's so before its time. That's like a punk rock song for like the emo screamo kids. That's literally what that song is. I love that band.
So I saw them at Warped Tour, and that's when they just released Nightmare Anatomy. Dude, Their show was like I said, I think theirs actually was a little better because their stage was insane. The best live band I think I've ever seen back in Nightmare Anatomy. And as far as my favorite show has been, I can say, as crazy as it sounds, with Gold Steps, it was actually a show we just had about maybe a month ago. It was in San Antonio. Now the crowd wasn't really that big, but man, they were so into it. They were jumping, they were singing along, they were circle pitting. They
came up and did guest vocals.
Yeah,
that was an awesome set.
I had a blast. And then maybe pre-Gold Steps Day, it was a band I used to play with, and it was a battle of bands. So there was a big crowd, and I think we were like one of only 2 pop punk bands to play that day, but everybody was just so engaged, and I think that was probably one of my other favorite shows ever, and I'll never forget it. And actually bring it up to a buddy of mine still to this day, and I'm telling him, this is old. This is like freaking like 8 years ago.
That's awesome. No, well, we'll get to Liz. I want to hear yours because I want to tell you my favorite shows I've attended because it's just bringing back all these memories. But yeah, Liz, go ahead.
Oh my gosh, so when I was in high school, I used to go to shows like as much as I possibly could.
Oh yeah.
But oh my gosh, for my best shows I've ever been to, I think it has to be a tie between the best lineup I think I've ever seen had to have been Nintendo Fusion Tour 05 because it was when Panic at the Disco was like just a teeny little baby band. I mean, they probably had just already been signed, but I found them on Pure Volume and I freaking loved them. And it was Fall Out Boy, Motion City, The Starting Line, Panic at the Disco, and then I think it was like a little band called like Boys Night Out or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was just like the sickest show. It was so good. That between that or it must have been like Warped Tour in like 07 when Paramore headlined and All American Rejects and Census Fail and Cartel and Fall Out Boy and
Story of the Year.
Like there was so many good bands on that tour.
Will Pug from Cartel has been on the show.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I've heard he's like a mentor now for like bands and stuff like that too, isn't he?
Yeah, we had him on with Andrew Eichinger from the band Seaway, and it was pretty cool because like
that's so tight.
Do you know Seaway?
Yeah.
Of course, we know Seaway.
They're friends of mine. Like they're doing something special. And you know that band's interesting because that's a band that like they weren't around as long as other bands. Like for example, Broadside were playing shows like for such a long time, even before they signed to Victory Records. But like Seaway were kind of new, and then like got signed and got big. So like right out the get, like they weren't around as long as, you know what I mean? Like you know how bands have been together for like 10 years, and then it takes them like, yeah, exactly. So that's the thing with Seaway. But I gotta mention some, and I think Zach, you might freak out of this because you and Raz, you might too, because one of my favorites was there was a tour where the Ghost Inside played with Reign Supreme and Betrayal. It was a hardcore show.
Oh my god, yeah.
But listen to this. This is crazy. So it was the weekend of this like heavy MTL festival with like Fear Factory and like big bands, Avenged Sevenfold, and after the Burial, we're on tour with Fear Factory, and Fear Factory were doing the festival, but after the Burial had an off date, so they joined the Ghost Inside show.
Oh man,
shit.
that's
So
like
it was Ghost Inside, after the Burial, Betrayal, and Reign Supreme in like a venue of like 275 to 300 kids, and it was like one of the most insane shows.
That's crazy. Was the building still standing when you left?
Barely. Like it was insane. And then for me, like there was a taste of chaos with Bring Me the Horizon Thursday at 4 Year Strong, and that's the first time I ever saw 4 Year Strong, and I fell in love right away. And then of course I saw Rise Against. Like Rise Against, my favorite band of all time.
Probably my little brother's favorite band is Rise Against. He has a tattoo on his forearm.
Oh, they're unbelievable. And I saw Rise Against play, and Thursday opened up for them. And I love Thursday too. They're like a post-hardcore, legendary, iconic band. So there's so many out there. But I think we'll wrap up. But Gold Steps, this is now your chance. I want you to plug away. I want you to give me the elevator pitch of why people should check out Gold Steps. Where can they check it out? What's happening tour-wise, album-wise? Let's go. I want to hear from everyone in the band. Let's go. I'm fired up.
well, awesome. Go ahead.
Well, I'll say this much. I will say this much because like I'm gonna let Zach and Liz.
Well,
Phil is doing disc golf right now, is he not?
Right.
Or is that an ever member?
Elias.
we'll call him Phil.
We'll call him Phil now.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll let them fill in more of the other details. But
Yeah.
one aspect I do want to say is like I'll tell you this much. And I'm not trying to be biased, but at all by no means. But I'm trying to plug my own band. So hey, what's it called?
That's why it's here, man.
Oh hell yeah! I promise this one thing. There's one thing about Gold Steps. When we play live, I guarantee a fun, energetic, amazing show. We have a ridiculous live show, and I make sure. I like when I say that. When I said bands like Fall Out Boy and Aiden and stuff like that. I literally like say like, okay, that band. That's what I want to do. So I'm always like,
Have you seen Story of the Year live?
oh hell yeah, dude! It's
Those
crazy.
the backflips off the amps. Oh, dude.
That's what I'm saying. I said I'm always like, be the band that you'd like to see and
Oh,
have a good
man.
time.
That's what our main focus of 2018 is coming up, is our stage presence and how to draw people to just nonstop be watching us, because that's exactly what we go. And when we see our favorite bands, we don't take our eyes off that stage. We don't go to the bathroom. You don't do that. Like you stay there and you watch them because they're your favorite band. That's actually who you came out to see, and that's what we're fighting to do at the moment.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah, I want people to be all like, they're like, dude, I watched Gold Steps. Their show is out of this world. They're like, you gotta watch them. You have to watch them.
You want to like save the live show aspect, because one can make an argument that people aren't going to shows as much as they used to.
Exactly.
Look at Vans Warped Tour, right? Like, I had a whole conversation with Shane Told about that. Is he's just saying like people are on their phones, a lot of people are listening to it, and there's not as much interest anymore to go to a show.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Bringing it back.
Gold Steps here to save the day with the live show.
Yes.
I think if I had to give you one reason what makes us stand out, and we aren't unique in this aspect, but if I can make our biggest selling point, we have more heart, I think, than I've ever seen in as far as like our outreach to people and our actual caring, like we live and breathe this band so much, especially like the three of us, we live together. And Zach and I, since we started this band, it really has, like, we've put a lot of our personal life aside to make this band be as good as we can. And we do everything 150%. Like, there was one song on the record, actually it was Sucker Punch. And when we first recorded it, I was never happy with the way the chorus and the pre-chorus came out. And it actually came down to, like, we were trying to get the final mixes done for mastering. And Zach and I finally just decided, like, we would not be happy if we put this out. Like, there's we know it can be better. So we picked up for a weekend. We drove to Paducah, Kentucky to meet with Rick King at King Sound. He mixed our album and we re-recorded those vocals. We rewrote them and re-recorded them. And I don't know a lot of bands. Like, there were a lot of people who were like, it's fine. Like, nobody's ever going to know that you wanted it to be different. They're going to hear the song and it'll be fine. But I'm not okay with fine. I'm only okay with knowing that I put my best foot forward and that I put my all into something, because I want the listener to receive the best that I can possibly give them, whether that's our live show, whether that's in our recordings, whether that's in my lyrics, my singing. I want whoever's listening to us to get the absolute best possible experience that they can get. And we never do anything that isn't 150%.
Wow.
You'll never see us half-ass a live show. You'll never see us half-ass a merch. You'll never see us half-ass an interaction with a fan. Like, we are genuinely so excited that anybody would give us their time of day to listen to us or speak to us or comment on something, that I will bend over backwards to make sure that I try to remember every person and reach out to them and let them know that I care.
Wow, you just set the bar so high for any other bands that come on the show. Zach, I don't think you're even going to top that, so why don't you just tell us about where we can listen
I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh my God, somebody commented and it's been like 3 hours and I did say thank you or hello or whatever.
No,
but,
it's true. But
yeah, I was about to say, you respond really quick.
I try.
Like, that's all. But yeah, but I want to know, like, where could they find the record? Like, what's coming up tour wise? Zach, can you fill us in on that a little bit before we wrap up?
So, Spotify is where it's going to be at, of course. Spotify is like what we push the most. It's still, I mean, we may do a couple lyric videos on YouTube. I think that's what's in store coming up. But goldstepsband.com, that's where we will have our pre-orders. It's
Merch.
through Big Cartel. Our merch, we have merch bundles. There's a 3/4 sleeve. There's a hat. There's some Gold Step shorts.
Tank tops.
There'll be tank tops. There's going to be other shirt designs as well.
Physical copies.
Those are actually available right now for pre-order, so you can go and pre-order it now. Those are going out in the next 2 weeks. They'll be shipping out because our album's dropping on the 25th.
Mm-hmm. So you can find Incandescent anywhere that you can stream or listen to music. So it'll be available on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play. You can stream it on Pandora. You can stream it on, obviously, Google Play and Spotify.
Yep.
You can find us on tour this summer. We're going to be headed towards the Midwest and East Coast. The Mideast. Also
the Middle East. Not yet.
But we're heading up to, I'm very excited. So I'm from Wisconsin. I'm from the Milwaukee area. We're playing this big festival called Summerfest on my little brother's 21st birthday. So that's like for us. So we're going to be headed up to the Midwest, over to the East Coast, down to Florida, and back over through Louisiana. So we are also planning a fall tour for the West Coast in October. So that's a new development, but it's something we've been working on, trying to get out to California.
Great.
And we've got some festivals sprinkled in there. We'll be in Albuquerque at the end of July for a festival. We've got some more festivals coming up in Texas in August and September. Basically, we're never going to stop. So you can find us all over the place.
That's awesome. Well, Zach, Liz, Raz, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate it. Keep up the hard work. I love the passion. Just keep it going.
Thank you.
Thank you
and
so
if
much.
anybody is looking to find out about all of this information, we post on our Facebook almost every day, and our Instagram and Twitter. You can find us at GoldStepsATX.
Perfect. Well, thank you all. Well, this has been Popternative. Like I said, make sure to check out Gold Steps. all the information will be in the description as well. For Popternative, you can listen to the audio-only episodes of the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We are there on youtube.com for the video episodes, youtube.com/Popternative, and then Popternative.com for brand new content as well, including our Popternative Pop Punk Sound playlists, which Volume 1 features Firestar by Gold Steps, I believe.
Thank you.
And Volume 3 should be coming out soon. And yeah, until next time, this is Gold Steps and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter